Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Steve Suarez. I hope everybody had a happy and joyful Thanksgiving. Joining me in studio today is Brian Drafke with Metropolitan Industries. He's back to discuss more about Navien water heaters and to get into ion pump systems and their backup systems.
Hello, how are you? I'm back again.
How was your holiday?
It was great.
Yeah?
It was. Got to spend time with family and friends, and not have to worry about everything going on in the world. Just put it away.
Yeah. I had my family at my house, and you know what? When they left, we're still talking, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a benefit.
We actually did it at my daughter's house. She lives next door, so I only had to go over to eat and then go home. So it was kind of great. I had to deal with everybody.
Yeah, I had my mom, my brother, my dad, and my nephews come over. My sister lives in Texas, so, she didn't come over. But so I usually like to antagonize my brother. I didn't get a chance to too much, so, he got a lot of crap because he was supposed to bring some stuff that he didn't bring, and he's always late. So he got hassles for that. But other than that, he watched football. So, but anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit more, kind of where we left off, is the Navien tankless water heaters. And I know people are like, when they're talking to water heaters, it's one of those things where if you know about them, you're interested. And usually it's like, I expect to have hot water. I turn on the water, I expect it to be there. And that's not always the case. And
no, it's not. And usually when people get into new water heaters, especially tankless, it's when theirs goes out.
Exactly. And that's when they're usually checking the options. They're checking the options of what can I do right around the time it's failing. And then they really have no idea. And it's one of those things where when you're doing something, when you have to do it, it's usually wind up going back with what you had rather than making any progression towards any new technology, like such as a tankless water heater. But I just tell people this: when you think of your water heater, don't think of it as an appliance. Think of it as, how was your shower this morning when you took a shower before you went to work, or when you get home, or when you're just relaxing in that, if you got a larger tub, a soaking tub, you're relaxing in that. If you're not able to use the hot water that you need, and it's not sufficient for what you need for what you're using in the house, then it may be time to upgrade to check the date on your water heater. How old is that? Or maybe go into a tankless water heater. Maybe that's a better option for you, and look into that because they have come a long way. Oh, yeah. As we were talking about when you were here the week before last, they've come a long way in their technology that when, years ago, people had their negative opinions of them. And, they're just a totally different animal now.
Yeah. The difference from, 10, 15 years ago to today is the flow rates on them are much higher than what they used to be.
Oh, they're fantastic. And even some of the ones that I've seen that we, ran into, years ago. I put a couple of them in, 15 to 17 years ago, and putting them in, it was, they're totally different. Completely different. Technology is pretty much similar on how they work, the concept, but they're totally different. And I know, people still have their opinions based on that old technology. And a lot of them, it's kind of changing it when I see people talking about it, or I talk to homeowners and they're like, well, I hear you run out of water. I hear you, you got the delay. I hear that they don't last as long. I hear, just all these different issues with it, or it's not as good. You're not getting as much water as you would a tank. All these things are just completely inaccurate.
Correct.
My opinion of them is, just the difference between a tank and a tankless is, it's estimated 60 to 65% of your energy bill with a tank water heater goes towards keeping that water hot
all the time.
It's waiting for
nonstop.
You. It's like having a tea kettle sitting on your stove, constantly running, on the off chance you might have tea, or need hot water. So,
pretty much.
And tankless water heater, as soon as you turn on that faucet,
within a couple seconds, depending on the way you have it structured. If you have a return line, you could have hot water instantly.
Right.
But here's the misconception of tankless. When everybody says, I got a tankless, you turn on the faucet, snap of your finger, you got hot water. That's not the case. That's only if you have a return line on a unit. Other than that, it could take a couple seconds to get hot. It's just like your regular water heater.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's no different.
The thing with a tankless versus a tank is a tankless, you never run out.
Right.
Which is great.
Well, the bad side about that is there's no stop sign.
No, there's not. For people that have like 3 or 4 people getting up in the morning in a household where you got to watch your time in the morning taking a shower on it, maybe 5 minutes apiece or whatnot before you run out of hot water, you don't have to worry about that with a tankless.
Right.
Which is a great feature of owning a tankless.
Or at the end of, say at the end of the day when you've got, kids that you got to give them all a bath and it's like, okay, everyone's got to hit their showers, everyone's got to hit their stuff, especially with athletics. Yeah. If you got kids that are in stuff and, these athletes, they come home smelling.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
I know. I've got one of them in the house.
And they got to hit a shower. And if they've got to wait, and you got to couple that with when they come home, they've got homework. They've got, they've got to eat dinner. They've got, and they had practice. They had all these little things it's a busy, life. And because my kids were in it. My daughter was in cheerleading and my son was in football. And it's, you blink your eyes by the time they get home to the time, it's 10 o'clock and it's, and again, if you have to space that and you don't have the time or you have to wait for a shower or to do laundry or all those things that need to be done.
Well, if you look at it like a lot of families out there, you, for instance, if you had a couple of young ones, you're a plumber, you come home dirty, you want to take a shower right away. Then your wife wants to give the babies a bath. Yeah. You may not have water. They might not have hot water. You have to wait an hour to get hot water.
Exactly. And that's where tankless water heaters are starting to become more popular with the on-the-go families. And if your family is one of them that is, just like most families out there, we're busy. We've got things to do. We've got, we don't have a whole lot of time.
No.
So, and this right here makes sure you have water when you need it, when the time you need it. So I'm a huge fan of them, and again, people are, the thing is they are more expensive, obviously, than a tank water heater, and the conversion is more. It's obvious.
With the conversion, now with the way prices of tank water heaters, as you well know, are getting up around the same prices, tankless, the only added extra is the install, changing it over, doing a conversion from tank to tankless.
Right. I mean, that's where you start, getting into, and that's where the real magic is. I say that. I mean, because I've seen people who are online. They're like, "Oh, I've got this tankless I want to have installed," and it's like, "Okay, this is great. There's a reason why you got it so cheap, because it's too small. It won't work with what you want it to do. It won't do it." So, and what happens when people buy a product and have it installed and they put the wrong product in?
It's the product's fault.
Exactly. The product is blamed for it instead of looking at, did I get the right product?
The only reason I'm laughing is because I see this day in and day out.
Exactly. And what I try to do as, with my company is I ask a lot of questions. When I see people online and they're talking about their plumbing issue, okay, I ask questions because I need to know, when did it happen? How it happened? What did it start? What are you looking for? What are you expecting? So in order I can give you and guide you give you the information and guide you where you need to be.
Where a lot of guys do not do that.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, I get paid to provide results. I'm not paid to guess. Because if I go in there saying, well, I gave you what you wanted. Okay, well, you're the professional, buddy. I hired you to give me what I wanted, or to give me results. And, well, I gave you what you wanted. Well, how do I know what I want? I'm a customer. I don't know this. If I knew this, I wouldn't need you. And that's not how, and they're absolutely right. I mean, realistically, you as the professional need to, what do you want? What do we have to work with? What is your desired result? And then I can get you that.
Questions and knowledge of products and your customer is what will make them satisfied at the end.
Exactly. And that's how you eliminate. The more questions you ask up front, the more issues you eliminate at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And
would you rather be scared of what the homeowner's calling you for after the install, or scared of them telling them what the price is going to be to give them what they want?
I'd rather walk away from it up front. I'm not going to do a job that's not going to give you the results you want.
Yeah.
Because honestly, at that point in time, it's like, I'm not, if you have a certain result that you want, and how you want me to do it isn't going to give you the results that you seek, I'm not going to do that, because it's going to be a complete disservice to you as the homeowner. And to me as a professional, you're hiring me to provide you with that resolution.
Right.
If I can't do it, then we both failed here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my thought on. That's why when getting that product and asking, okay, what do you need? What do you want it to do? What do we have in the house to work with? I've got to get you that result.
You could typically cross over one tankless for like a 40 or 50 gallon hot water tank, and you can go 1-for-1 on it, and usually be 95% of the time correct. But you get into where you got 250 gallon or 275 gallons in a household. No. You should really start asking questions on it, because if you got 150 gallons of hot water and you put one tankless in there, it's not going to match up.
No, it's not.
So because multiple faucets, dishwashers, whatever you're using, sometimes you might have to add 2 tankless.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to keep up with the GPM on them. That's a thing that nobody ever does.
Well, you have to evaluate what the use is going to be and what the size is going to be. And another thing that people I'm running into, and this is becoming a little bit more prevalent, is with people who are now needing a water heater. They have a 75 gallon in there. Well, it's a 4-bathroom house, standard. It doesn't have jacuzzi tub or anything like that. It has a tub and a shower in there. And what they ask is, well, the kids have moved out. It's just me and my wife here now. I don't think I really need to go anything more. I don't think I need to do the 75 gallon. I just want to go with the with a smaller one. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you intend to do? What does your future look like? Well, we plan on staying here for at least the next a few years. Our intention is not to leave. I said, well, the problem is this house was built and designed with this water heater in mind, or designed for this capacity. So, I mean, you can go like for like, or you can go with a tankless. But going down, if you do that, which we've run into it where there's no intention to leave, and then a year later, oh, we got this opportunity to move to Florida and we're going to go and take it and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Home inspector came in and looked at everything and said, well, okay, you've got 4 bathrooms and the people that are buying the house have 4 kids or 3 kids, and now it's like they're going to be using it full capacity. You're not. Now they're not going to have enough hot water. Now you have to upgrade that and basically spend double money in order to sell that house.
So 75 gallons is really roughly 15 minutes of hot water.
Yeah, if you're blowing it out of there, I mean, you're just using it like you're supposed to.
Yeah, figure 2 showers.
Yeah, I mean
7 minutes apiece, basically.
Yeah, you can go through it really quick. So, and I would, if I'm looking at it at that point and I got a 75 gallon water heater and it's a option, I think a tankless water heater is where I'm going to go. And I'll get into a little bit more of that after.
Oh, wow.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair Show. I am your host, Steve Suarez, with RJ Graham Plumbing, and I'm back here with Brian Drafke with Metropolitan Industries. And we were talking, before the break, we were talking about tankless water heaters and a scenario in which a homeowner, empty nesters who have a water heater that's failed, say a 75-gallon water heater that's failed, and looking at options. Some automatically want to step it down because they're not using as much hot water, so they don't need it. But even though the house was built and designed with that amount of water usage and consumption in mind and having that larger tank, I'm guessing, or my suggestion, okay, would be to go replace that if you're going to go with it, which may be a little bit more of a pricey option, which it's going to be a pricier option, but in the long run, actually, will probably benefit it more because you either go like for like if you're going to go and do that, or what you do is you go with a tankless because the tankless will adapt to your lifestyle because you're not using as much water.
Even if you're going to use more water, it doesn't matter. Tankless is like the best way to go because if there's only one person in the house, you're saving gas on not heating that water all the time.
Exactly.
And or if you have a lot of people in your house, you never run out of hot water.
Exactly.
So it goes both ways, and that's really the best option to go now.
Well, yeah, that's another thing I was getting at. Say it's empty nesters and they're active and they're doing a lot of different things and they're not home. That unit's only going to work when they need hot water. So what you may spend on the outlay, you're gonna save an energy bill, especially with the way gas is going up.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna save some money in the long run because you're not heating this water up all the time when you're not home, and it's enough that if you have relatives that come in, say the kids come back, they bring grandkids, they whatever, and they stay with you, and now the house is getting a demand like no other because you got little people now. You've got enough hot water to do it. You go to sell, you've got that in there. You're looking really good. So you're not spending. It's not a bad money spend.
No.
So I mean, that's why I would say, if you can, that would be your route. Big fan of them, and any of these misconceptions that you have out there, ladies and gentlemen, about tankless water heaters, I would do this before you just shoot the idea down. Get an honest evaluation of your home from a person who is licensed, bonded, insured, a plumber that can evaluate and go over and tell you exactly what you need. That this way you'll know what you're dealing with. Yeah. And I mean reputable, somebody decent. I mean, you can call us. We'd love to do it. But if you've got someone, go that route, but someone you trust, because someone who knows how to do these will be able to give you a honest evaluation on what you're dealing with. And
you can even go to manufacturers' websites like Navien, the one that I rep. You go on there, and it'll give you a list in your area of who certified installers are.
Okay.
For that. And, it's as simple as taking a class on installation and service of them. Which is real easy to do.
Absolutely, I got to get on that because I haven't made that step to get on the that list. I mean, I've gutted these things. I've taken them apart, and I've I know
I've seen your work. It's great.
They're phenomenal.
Thank you for taking the time and reading instructions. Well, a lot of people don't do.
The information, it really helps out because, like we were talking about, hot water is. When people don't have hot water at their faucet, they automatically think it's the water heater. And that's not always the case. And with the Navien units, and I think we spoke about it a little bit on, because we talked about a lot of things the week before last when you were here, is I had a homeowner that had a faucet an issue where they weren't getting hot water. And one in the tub, in the jacuzzi tub, the hot water was fluctuating, and I'm like, okay, is it the faucet? Do I have is it a meter issue? Am I not getting the right? Is there a flow problem? So I go and I can look on the Navien unit. I can go into the diagnostics, and I can actually see the flow rate, and I saw it fluctuating. So I knew by doing that what my issue was. So I immediately called Navien, the tech support there. Phenomenal, and told them what was happening, told them what I ran through, and they're like, okay, it sounds like it's a flow sensor. So they worked with me to get the part that I needed, made an adjustment on it so they can have hot water, and they were operable for the 24 hours that it took to send it out, and we were able to get it in so they could ship it that day, so we got it the next day, and we were really good. Otherwise, it's 48 hours to get the part, but I was able to identify that, and also by using that, we ran into, they had another issue at their showers. They weren't having an issue at their faucets, any other faucets like they had before, but they had it at their shower faucets. So did pretty much the same thing, and I narrowed it down to not the water heater. The water heater was fine. It was their cartridges on their shower faucets. They were starting to go.
The first thing they blamed was the water heater.
That's what people do. And it's not always as literal as that. And so a lot of the information that you may get, well, yeah, I went with this brand of water heater and it was bad. Well, it may not have been. Or I went with this, don't go to tankless because this is what happens. It may not have been. More often than not, it's not. And like we talked about before, 95%, or actually I would say 98% of the issues with tankless water heaters are sizing and installation.
Correct.
That's what I've run into. And I could tell right off the bat when I go there and the unit's like 10 years old. Okay, I need to have it flushed. I look at it. There's no service kit on it. Okay, this one's a replacement. And I know people out there are thinking, well, it's only 10 years old. Why would you replace, or why would it be a replacement? Because if you are in areas with bad water or questionable water,
our area,
yeah, and this unit has not been touched, you have all that buildup in that water heater that's never been serviced. So you're going to try and service it now. You got a 50-50 shot of it. Even you can make it worse.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a possibility you can wind up adding to the issue rather than solving anything. So, and again, when you, it's kind of like if you've never run in your life and now you're going to decide to run a marathon and you think it's going to work. No. You have to maintain it. You have to condition it. You have to make sure this is running at optimum with maintenance for optimum capacity.
Right.
So, I mean, that's my fan on it, or my opinion on it, and me being a fan. Now, as far as why I like Navien, and this is why I like Navien, I'd like it for warranties. Like I just said, I can get these 24 to 48 hours parts that I need, so I can keep these things operational. I could diagnose them, and I can go through and scroll through it with tech support, find out exactly what it is, and pinpoint it down so we get the right parts and the right system. And I had a system, and I don't know if I spoke about it on the last show, where I had a Navien water heater where it was 8 years old. It was 8 years old, and these homeowners lived in the house for right around that 8 years, maybe a little bit less. It was new right when they got it. It was only controlling, I think I told you, but it was only controlling the master bath because they had a larger tub. And it was a smaller unit, but it was only controlling that shower and that bathroom there. And had an issue. I call up Navien, give them the serial number and everything, model number and everything. They didn't see that it was, they diagnosed what it was.
There was no service on it.
No service. They had nothing.
Ever.
Nobody did anything. He goes, well, let me see what I can do. And I hear the little tapping of the keypad, and he's doing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm hoping what these prices are going to be. I'm like, I really don't want to give these people bad news on this,
right.
Because they don't know what they have, and it's only going to just go to the thought that these things are horrible and I don't want, they're expensive. And he comes back to me, he says, well, it's not, it wasn't they didn't put any information in it. The warranty or anything, information was never, registered, nothing. They never registered anything. I'm going to do that for you right now. I said, okay, cool. So he goes and registers. I gave him all the homeowners information. He says, what I'm going to do is, since it wasn't registered, I'm going to send you out the parts that you need to get that going. A couple sensors and a board. And I'm like, really? He says, yeah. I said, these people are going to love you. He goes, that's good. My name is, so, yeah. And he was really good about it. And I was able to go up there and say, okay, well, good news is your parts are going to be free. So, and you're just going to have to pay for the labor.
Navien's tech support is top notch. It really is.
By doing that, because when I put in a product, I sold the product. I own that for the warranty for the 5 years that I got. I own that warranty. They called me for hot water. That's what it is. So if they don't have hot water, Steve, I don't have hot water. Okay, I got to make sure they get hot water. There's no excuse that, well, you're not going to have hot water for a couple days. They're not going to hear that. I got to get them hot water. I got to figure out a way to do this. And because they're not going to deal with that. Would you?
No.
I wouldn't deal with it. So that's how I run my company. If I'm not going to deal with it, you're not going to deal with it.
Right.
So, and that's why I love them, because they were, like I said, 24. They help you kind of here's what we can do to temporarily keep it operational so you can function. You may not be functioning 100%, but you can function at capacity where you can use it and have enough hot water to operate for the next day or so. Which, I mean, we've been fortunate enough to do that. I know there's going to be some components that may have issues on it, but other than that, I mean, they're phenomenal. Again, this is not particular about, the unit. They get you hot water when you need it, so you can have that comfortable shower. You can have that, those multiple showers, those multiple baths, everything for convenience to make sure that life just continues to go on, because these things are frustrating when you don't have hot water.
Right.
Not tankless water heaters, but just
in general.
In general.
Yeah.
So, as someone who is around these units, I'm going to ask you this. I talk to everybody about it. Everybody loves you when you're great. Everybody loves you when you do good. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the bad. Okay. And I know you're looking at me like, okay, I don't want to do this.
I'll answer all the
We're going to do this. Okay. Navien water heaters. What's the worst thing about them? What would you say the worst thing that you come up with on it that
installation.
Okay.
Installation is like the worst problem I've ever had with them.
And why is that?
Other than that, I haven't had any issues with them at all. It's the simple fact is it works here or there, this and that. We go out, and of course, I'm not picking on anybody or whatnot, but every installer thinks they know everything about every tankless manufacturer out there. It's not the case.
I do a great job, okay? Yeah. I don't want you yelling at me. I'm very sensitive.
No, I have never had any issues with you, but I have had issues out there where, venting is an issue. Mm-hmm. Undersizing units for a household is an issue. You get into these big homes where they've got, shower systems and stuff like that.
Right.
And the first thing that Navien's tankless water heater dropped my water pressure. Well, yeah, it did, of course, because the flow is higher than what the heater can heat at.
Right.
So it will back it down to maintain temperature.
Right.
That's the worst thing that I ever run across. And you go to that homeowner's house, and it's like, there should be 2 units in here. What do you mean? I only had 2 50-gallon
But that's not
a
Navien problem.
It's not a Navien problem. And that's where I'm going. I have had no issues with Navien.
That's not a tankless water heater.
I've been repping them for 13 years now. And 90% of the problems with the old units were gas because they were installed right.
Yeah,
it's a gas issue. Yeah. But as far as the units they go themselves, I haven't had any.
Yeah, that's not a tankless heater. That's not a tankless problem. It could be a site.
No, but like you said,
yeah.
People call in or write reviews about the issues that they've had with it, and it's all been installation errors.
Right. Yeah, I was online, and I saw, and I'm in a plumbers group, and I had a bunch of people talk about, and they were in a group bashing Navien, and I'm like, okay, so I'm watching. I don't know. I mean, I keep my, I shut my mouth if I don't know. So I just, okay, I'm watching this. And all this stuff they're saying, oh, yeah, well, they're heat exchangers. They've been tossing them out. They're heat exchangers. Okay. I put in a bunch of these. I haven't had a problem with a heat exchanger.
Nope.
I haven't had not one even questioning. Okay. So I'm just watching them, and it's like, there was no specifics on it. It was just a bunch of parrots that were just saying whatever. And it's like, I haven't heard anything like that. I haven't run into any of these. And anybody in the area, I haven't seen anybody talking about those type of issues. So it's one of those things where it's, you got to take your information and consider the source in which you're getting it from.
99.5% of the issues are installation problems. I mean, I've heard it all. They bad talk products. It doesn't matter if it's Navien or any other.
Oh, yeah.
You call in the service tech and they say, hey, this is piped wrong, or this needs to be done, or that needs to be done. The first thing that they do when I get a call is I talk to Navien, and they said that I need to redo this. Well, did you redo it? No. Well, redo it and then call me.
Right.
Because that'll find out if it's a true issue or not.
Exactly.
Well,
that's what you do.
That's why they have tech lines to tell you, hey, you know what? You might have installed it wrong. Watch out the next time you do this, but you got to fix it to make sure that the unit works right. Has there been lemon tankless out there? Yes, in any product, it doesn't matter if it's tankless pumps or whatever, occasionally you might get a lemon.
It's manufactured.
Yeah.
Manufactured by humans.
Yeah.
It happens.
So, Not all Naviens are manufactured by humans. You got to see a 1 million square foot facility that they have.
You were telling me that it's not
cool.
it's not touched by human hands.
No, it's all animated, and it's amazing on what it does. You have to watch the video on that.
Awesome.
But getting back to it, problems with any manufacturer I've seen out there, 99.5% of the time, it's installation problems.
Yeah, see, I've run into it where it's like, okay, well, you have an issue with it, and like I said, you have to install, like with us, what we do is I tell my guys, everything gets installed per code, everything gets installed per manufacturer specifics, and it has to meet the customer's satisfaction. They have to be happy with the product that they get. And, I mean, those are things that you have to follow. And one of the key things is if there's ever a failure, they're checking that. Okay, what happened? How did it happen? Okay, it was a unit that failed. Okay, was it the unit that failed, or the unit itself, or was it the installation? Because you can't go and blame the unit or the manufacturer when the unit wasn't installed properly.
That's the first thing that happens.
That goes for tank unit. That goes for tank installs too.
Any product.
Yeah,
this is a product that failed first. It wasn't the installation, so then who gets the rap?
Right.
The product does first, and then if somebody else comes by and fix it, the company gets installed it, gets the bad rap next.
Right. It's just it runs downhill.
Follow manufacturer guidelines and instructions, and do the right things, and you should have no issues.
Right. Because I've run into some. I actually run into a tankless water heater install that I did, and I was having recirc pumps, a recirc issue, and this particular one had it had 2 tanks, and it was only using one recirc coming out of the tanks. And the recircular line is a line that circulates water to the furthest fixture in the home, so it makes sure you don't have to wait that long period of time to get hot water. It gets you hot water there quickly, so you don't have to run it. So anybody who has a home that I have to turn on the shower, I can brush my teeth real quick, and then by the time I get done with that, I'll have hot water. That's pretty much how to eliminate that. So,
by running a recirculation line in the house saves an average of 16,000 gallons a year of wasted water. Yeah. It's a proven fact.
It does.
It is.
It does save a lot. I mean, so having that is a definite bonus, but some houses weren't built like that. And if your furthest fixture is on the other side of the house and it's on the second floor, not a whole lot of people are going to go and demo and do that kind of demolition.
No, but Navien makes a little, what they call the Navi-circ that goes underneath the sink. And you can put that at the furthest fixture away and have hot water there when you turn the faucet on.
I like that.
Yeah.
See, this is why we have This is why we have people like you on the show, because it's
pretty cool.
These cool little products.
And you can put a couple of them in your home. If you have 2 that go the furthest away, you can actually put 2 of these valves in there.
All right.
It's pretty sweet. And you go into the parameters on there. Like we were talking about how hard it was to set up older units and other manufacturers. You go in there and you can set the timer, put it on for how long you want it to run. So when you wake up at 5:30 in the morning, you've got hot water at that faucet.
And what's that called?
The Navi-circ.
All right. That's pretty awesome. It
is.
Yeah. I'm going to have to check on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're liking what you heard as far as having that instant hot water at your furthest fixture, that one that you've had to run, like I said, brush
don't
your
want
teeth.
Steve coming in chopping your house apart trying to run a return line.
I don't do it like that. I'm very, very.
I know.
I hate opening walls. I really do, because then it's I don't look at it as
them, or call somebody in to come do it.
I don't look at it as like, hey, I put this thing. Oh, good news is it's. Your pipes are in. Bad news is your house is demoed. I mean, I don't like that. Kind of reminds me of an old Woody Woodpecker cartoon. Where it's like, hey, I got took a bath, but the whole house is destroyed. You know what I mean? They're fighting over a dime. So it's like some goofy. But I like the products like that it gives you options other than doing that. And that's the way technology is going. Technology, that are coming from manufacturers like Navien. And like I said, I like just products that have good warranties, because I've got to answer. I got to answer to my customers, and I can't throw my hands up in here.
Right.
And I'm not going to. So
you got 1 year parts and labor, 5-year parts, and 15 on heat exchanger.
That's not bad. See, we offer the 5-year. Obviously, the tank and parts, or not tank and parts, but the parts come from the manufacturer. we back it with labor, and we also do a flush. We do a flush on them. And what that does is it helps keep it maintained, flush and inspection throughout that. And any issues with it, we will cover any manufacturer cover repairs or replacements for that 5 years. So that's pretty good. I like doing that. And what we're going to do now is, because we covered pretty much what we didn't cover on our last visit, or your last visit, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to finish up talking about the ion pump system.
Well, welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair Show. I'm your host, Steve Suarez, back with Brian Drafke with Metropolitan Industries. And we are going to now talk about, after we finished up the Navien conversation, which I could talk about them for a while, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of them. And we're going to talk about another system that we have.
Which I could talk about all day long, too.
Ion pumps. Now, my experience with ion pumps is limited. I'll be the first to say that. Those are my big dogs. Mm-hmm. The big dogs, that's where when you have a ton of water and you need them put out, that's when I bring it. And that's the I think it's the 55 ACI.
Yep.
That's the unit I do, and that's two half-inch or 2.5 horsepower pumps, and they have 2-inch discharges. And I believe they pump out, about 75 gallons per minute each?
Yeah, roughly right around there.
Right. So
it's like 68, I think it is.
And they're in the manufacturer desired instructor, they're not desired, but the manufacturer instructions, they want them to be not running together. They want them to be discharged outside. Mm-hmm. I've seen people run them, and I've actually run them where they use the one discharge, but it's 2-inch. Mm-hmm. At the closest point to discharging outside. I got away from the mic. At the closest point to exiting the building. But I've seen many people who run them lower. But those pumps, they alternate, right?
Yeah. On the 55 ACI Deluxe, it'll alternate. A lot of our ACIs, if it's got a Deluxe on the end of it, it's a 2-pump system.
Right. Which
is really the way to go when you're doing it. Because a lot of people just spend money on a battery backup system, and then they got a primary and a battery backup.
Right.
The one that you use has 2 pumps on it, and what it does is it exercises.
Why do you have to say it like that?
What?
The one you use. Yes, like you. You
use one of the. I can't say better systems, just more volume, higher GPM systems, because all the systems starting from a 30.
I thought you meant the other system that I use. That's like the base one that I use, not the big dog, like the Ion.
No, it's all right. Yeah, other manufacturers, I get it. Other people use them. I mean, a lot of people use our stuff for higher end homes. It's not the way to think about it, though. We have a Cadillac product out there, and that goes from our base model all the way up to our highest model, which is like a SunPro Platinum Deluxe.
Right.
They're all about the same as far as what they are as a battery backup pump system / regular pump. There's just different GPMs on where you can go.
Right.
And we've got one that goes from 40 gallons a minute.
Well, I'll just get the higher horsepower. I'll just get the large
horsepower. Get it out of your head right now. Doesn't matter.
But that's what I hear all the time. So we're just going to get the highest horsepower one.
One of the things when people go to DIY stores, the first thing they do is they look at horsepower on a pump. Horsepower is used to achieve a GPM.
Okay.
On it, you could take a 3rd horsepower motor and put several different impellers on them, and that will make it pump either less or more, depending on the size of the impeller.
Okay.
So horsepower is usually doesn't really matter. Right. And it's a misconception. It really is. Right. On it. For instance, we have a 3rd horsepower pump. It's called a BA33. It's a sump pump.
Right.
It actually does 55 gallons a minute at 10 foot ahead, and it's a 1.5-inch discharge on it.
Okay. And the other competitor, I believe you're probably at about 38.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Or maybe it's 34.
They're about 35.
Yeah.
I won't rob them anything. They're they make great products.
35 to 38. Yeah.
Yeah, but ours is a niche. I mean, some pumps we do sell. We use our regular everyday sump pumps in our battery backup systems.
Right.
And one of the misconceptions, especially at the DIY stores, is a homeowner will go in there and they'll see gallons per hour. Mm-hmm. It'll say, so just say 5,000 gallons per hour.
Okay.
That's at 0 feet ahead.
Right.
You don't need a pump if you have 0 feet ahead.
Right.
You need to base that off of at least 10 foot ahead, because that's about what the average basement is. Some of them are a little taller. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know what head is, it is the vertical and check valves, any 90s, anything like that. You add all that up, gives you head. And basically what that is anything that restricts water flow before it goes out by gravity.
Right.
Because if it goes by gravity, there's no head there really.
Right. Because pumps lift. Yeah. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to lift, and your head is your height from the lowest point to where you're getting into the horizontal or gravity-fed line going outside.
What it is,
But a lot of people out there, you see them on social media, you see everyone saying, oh, I went there, I had this, I installed it myself or whatever. And it's like, this is my fourth pump, I've say.
So let's go back to
years.
horsepower. Because when they go into a DIY store, and not everybody is well versed on what some pumps do, and everybody just thinks that they pump water. Yes, that's basically what they do. But when you go in and just say you grab a half horsepower or 3/4 horse, right? Mm-hmm. You've got this small 18 by 30 inch pit, or 22 actually for sump. They should change that. Code for across the United States should be a minimum of 24 by 30 because there's volume there.
Right.
And somebody will grab a half horsepower pump, let's just say, or 3/4, or say it does 100 gallons per minute, right? You have an 18 by 30 or 22 inch sump pit that holds about 15, 17 gallons of water by the time it gets to the bottom. What do you need 100 gallons per minute for? I understand under big rains, you may need that. If we get 3 or 4 inches in a couple hours, you may need that, but it's not the way to go about it. Because if you think about it, every time that pump turns on, it does 100 gallons per minute, or even 80 gallons per minute, whatever. It goes on, off, on, off, on, off. And people will say, well, that pump only lasted a year. It's junk. No, the on and off starts are what kills a pump.
Okay.
On it. So the longer the runtime you can get out of a pump, the longer it's going to last. When you go on, off, on, imagine sitting in your car, starting it, shutting it off, starting it, shutting it off. Eventually your starter is going to go out prematurely.
Right.
It's not going to last that long because you're doing it on, off, on, off, on, off.
Okay.
On it. The way to do it is Ion Technologies, which is manufactured by Metropolitan Industries. That's who I work for.
Okay.
It's like a sister company, a sub-company of Metropolitan. We make alternators that you can run 2 pumps at one time under certain conditions. There's things that you have to do. Anybody out there listening, please contact me. I'll tell you how to do it. But we have an alternator that will alternate between 2 pumps. Pump 1 will run the first time. Pump 2 will run the second time. We're going to go back to pump 1, back and forth, back and forth. The reason that we do that is 2 things. If it's on a battery backup system, you don't have just one battery backup pump sitting there doing nothing. Could be a year, 2 years before your power ever goes out. So what we're doing is exercising that second pump.
Right, which is
or
always
first
good.
pump. Yeah, it's good to do it. If you let your car sit in the driveway for a year, you go to start it, is it going to start? 9 times out of 10, no.
Right.
On it. So that's basically the way a battery backup is. It's just something that sits there all the time, does nothing until it needs to be done, until a failure on your main. So with an alternator, we actually have our backup pump running one time, then our main pump, or main pump, backup pump, whatever you want to call it, back and forth, back and forth. So we exercise the pumps.
And they're both battery operated, right?
No.
They're not both battery operated?
No, they're plugged into an inverter. And what an inverter does is take battery, DC power, and converts it over to AC. So we're using regular everyday sump pumps.
But I mean, they're low voltage, so basically...
low amps are on them. Right. Yeah, ours run right around 4.5 amps.
So essentially, you're not losing, like in some products where your drop-off between your primary running off of full AC is going to be different with, because it's run off of DC.
Yeah.
Whereas your units, have a low voltage draw that they will run just as efficient off of DC as they do off of AC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're going to educate a homeowner on this, because, I can get this one from, such and such store for $500, but yours is $2,000. Well, you're out of time?
No, we're good. We got 4 more minutes.
The thing is, though, is that the system that they're looking at pumps less than what their sump pump that they have in their house does now.
Right.
On it, 14, 15 gallons a minute. Your everyday sump pump pumps 30, 35 gallons a minute.
Right.
On it.
Right.
Why would you put something that pumps less than your everyday sump pump does in an emergency situation?
Right.
That's going backwards
right.
on it. But like I was saying with the alternator, just say get rid of that 100-gallon a minute pump. I can do 2 50-gallon a minute pumps where I only need 50 gallons here, 50 gallons there. But in case I needed that 100 gallons a minute, and these are just numbers I'm throwing out there.
Right.
We could do it.
And
because we could run both pumps at once, a lead and a lag start on it.
And Metropolitan Industries is located
in Romeoville, Illinois.
And that pump is made
in the States.
Yeah. Awesome. Like it. So, and I mean, there's with these pumps here now, the warranties on them.
3 years.
Okay, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Battery.
3 years.
Injectors.
3 years.
Okay, that's not bad. I like that. I mean, and readily available parts at supply houses.
Oh yeah,
that carry them
in the area. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And we're also located here in Romeoville too.
Yeah,
can't buy direct, but if you need replacements, you could.
They can call a contractor such as us or other contractors out there. So these are definitely an option to go with as not only not an option, but just one that should be looked at. Because it's one of those maybe not as well known as some of the other competitors, but definitely give you a run for your money.
If you're going to choose a battery backup system or a pump, get with an educated contractor that knows the difference between them and get the education before you go and purchase anything.
Well, a lot of people buy them online. They think I got this, and they don't realize that they bought what they bought. So. Yeah. I want to thank you for being on the show again. We just blow through time like it's just talking about this stuff.
Want to thank you back anytime you want.
Oh, absolutely, I will. I want to thank everybody for listening. And if you have any questions for Brian or anything with the show, shoot us over a text at 708-964-5500. Other than that, you can reach us and send any other emails at preparetorepair.com. So I want to thank everybody, Brian here, and everyone for listening. Hope we're informative and a bit entertaining. From there, you can check out preparetorepair.com website. You can check out our previous shows and guests. And coming up next week, we will have more information and more interesting guests. See you next week.
Will County's News Talk Sports, 1340.